Good morning, my YouTube viewer. Says Palestine here. Welcome to my channel. I have lots of things that I would like to talk about, but this Lindsay Clancy case is riveting. So rather than talk about my health problems, which were upsetting me, and talk about what happened at Foster Wheeler and the deep state, which I'm traumatized by, I want to make this video talking about this business with Lindsay Clancy. And the thing is that they're rolling up the case, rolling up the trial, and I think it was maybe day 18 or 19, and they've had loads of psychiatrists come on to defend Lindsay Clancy, to say that yes, she is insane. But they also had one psychiatrist who said that even though she's insane, that she knew the difference between right and wrong. She knew what she was doing, even though she's insane. And so basically, they were saying they posed lots of theories with Lindsay. These psychiatrists spent time with her, and one psychiatrist was actually able to convince a jury that Andrea Yates was insane. So basically, since you get conflicting stories, like Lindsay Clancy is saying that she heard a voice and the voice told her to do it. And then one of these psychiatrists who visited Lindsay and talked to Lindsay said that yes, she heard a voice, which was a command hallucination. But instead of, in addition to hearing this voice, which was a command hallucination, he used this other term too, which was an idea of some kind. But in addition to the command hallucination, she felt like something was taking over her body and she had no control. And she did it. So that's another thing that has come out in this court case, and it's towards the end of the court case. I think it's day 18 or 19, because obviously I'm busy, and so I do actually watch some of the court case sometimes, because the court case is being live streamed on YouTube. So some of the court case that I have actually watched, but I prefer to have somebody who has more of an interest in a court case than I do watch the court case and give me the highlights, tell me what it says, and that way I can get the highlights. So basically, you've got these psychiatrists giving you diverse opinions. You've got this one psychiatrist who's a really old man, a lot older than me, and he was able to convince a jury that Andrea Yates was insane. And he's just like saying, yes, she's insane. And then you've got another psychiatrist that said that, yes, even though she's insane, she still knew what she was doing. She knew right from wrong. She knew what she was doing that was wrong. And then maybe you had another psychiatrist, another opinion was that she wasn't insane at all, that she wanted to do something to herself, harm herself, and she didn't think that anybody else could take care of her children as well as she could. So she decided she was going to take her children with her. So you've got lots of psychiatrists saying different things. So number one, hearing this command hallucination, well, if you're a religious person and you read the Bible, like people like Moses, and who was it? Was it Isaac or Abraham? It was Abraham. He heard a command hallucination to go out and tell him to sacrifice his son. I think it was Isaac. Please forgive me. It's been a long time since I've seriously studied the Bible, but it was Isaac. I think it was. And then, but definitely it was Abraham had a command hallucination where God told him to go out and sacrifice his son. And then so basically Abraham did what he was told to do. So Abraham was going to do it. And then at the very last minute, I think that a ram or a goat, a ram is a goat, but I think it was a goat came around, and then he decided to sacrifice this goat instead of sacrificing his son. And that was a command hallucination. And so you can think what you like, because people who are Christians and Jewish and that other religion, they all read the Old Testament. And so that's part of the Old Testament. So that was a command hallucination. And Abraham was going to do it. He was going to sacrifice his son. But then a ram came along. And then God told him to sacrifice the ram instead. And so that's why they began animal sacrifices. And then in addition to that, like in Mexico, they sacrificed humans. And in lots of different cultures, they sacrificed humans. But in the three main Abrahamic religions, they don't sacrifice humans because they sacrifice animals instead of humans. But a lot of religious practices, they do sacrifice humans. So Lindsay Clancy said that she had heard a voice. Well, Abraham heard a voice, and I think it was Moses too. Like Moses went up into the mountains and came back with 10 commandments written on tablets. All of these religious figures of the Old Testament had command hallucinations. And so what that says is, this was a long time ago that I read it. That they said that man's brain has developed. And a long time ago, man had the bicameral brain, where his brain had two parts. And that's why they would hear voices, because their brain had two parts. But now our brains have synthesized, so we don't hear voices anymore. But these religious figures, and well, definitely the Old Testament, that's what I'm familiar with. That's what I was brought up with. These religious figures, they heard voices, and they acted on those voices, and they said God told them to do it. That was a command hallucination. And then another thing we come up with, it's come up with today, this morning, I heard about it, which is why I'm making this video, is that Lindsay Clancy said that in addition to this command hallucination, this is what she told these psychiatrists, that she felt like something was taking over her body, and she felt like she had no control, that she herself wasn't doing it, that somebody else was doing it. In Christianity, that is demonic possession. And then so basically, I was just speaking to my boyfriend, who's just sitting right here next to me reading the paper. I was telling him what I thought, and he said, yeah, that's what he thought. He thought it was demonic possession. And then, like, members of my family are really religious, like they're Baptists and Pentecostals and stuff. And even my sister, who just recently was awarded a master's degree, but she didn't have to write a dissertation. She chose a master's degree where she didn't have to write a dissertation. She's saying that she thinks it's demonic possession, that these people are possessed by demons. So I don't want to go into the demonic possession route, but there's a lot of people, especially religious people who believe in demonic possession. So they believe that when people do bad things, that they are possessed by demons. And Lindsay Clancy and her family are Catholic. And in Catholicism, they actually give exorcisms. So Catholics believe in demonic possession. They actually have exorcists in the Catholic religion. If you remember that movie with, do you remember that movie? I think it was Exorcist. I think that's what they called it. It was with this girl. It was an old movie. I was a teenager when they made the movie, and maybe it was called The Exorcist, but it was this, I don't even remember the actress's name, but she was made famous in that movie because they had a Catholic priest come exorcise her. And I believe that it was based on a true story. And in YouTube videos, they have interviewed priests who have actually performed exorcisms. And so they say sometimes that it's demonic possession and sometimes it's genuine mental illness. But the Catholic religion in particular does believe in demonic possession. They do have priests who give exorcists. And coincidentally, Lindsay Clancy and her husband and their families are Catholic. Which is interesting because the prosecution told Lindsay Clancy's mother-in-law that since she was a Catholic, committing murder was a mortal sin, but she didn't say anything about demonic possession. I think she thought she'd be going too far if she said Lindsay Clancy was demonically possessed. But that's another thing. So Lindsay Clancy said she heard a command hallucination. You know, in the old days, they would say it was from God. God told them to do it. And then she said that she felt like something was taking over her body and she had no control and she felt like she wasn't doing it. And that is demonic possession if you're a Christian. And even in other religions, like, I can't speak about other religions. The only religion that I know anything about is Christianity. But in other religions, I'm sure they have demonic possessions too. But they call it a different name. And then, so you've got this religious aspect to it, which they sort of brought it up in the trial saying killing someone is a mortal sin. That was the prosecution. But she didn't say anything about demonic possession. I think she would have been, the case would have been thrown out if she said anything about demonic possession. And then so another thing is then you had another psychiatrist testify saying that yes, even though she is insane, that she knew right from wrong. She knew what she's doing. She knew it was wrong, and she did it anyway. And then you had another psychiatrist say that she's not insane. She just was suicidal. She had a chronic depression. She was suicidal. And she felt that nobody could take care of her children as well as she could. So she was going to take them with her. So you have all these different scenarios. So you have to ask yourself the question, is Lindsay Clancy insane, demonically possessed, or faking it? Because if she was faking it, then she could be personality disorder, and that's what the profiler Pat Brown believes. The profiler Pat Brown believes that she has a personality disorder, and that's why she did it. But nevertheless, the thing is that Lindsay Clancy is going for the insanity defense because she's hoping that if she gets convicted, if the outcome of the court case is that she's not guilty on the basis of insanity, then she'll be in a psychiatric hospital for a few years, get a little bit of treatment, and then after a few years, she'll be free. She'll be out free. But that's sort of like this lady, this Bobbitt, who chopped off her husband's appendage. She got off on insanity. She did the insanity plea, and she found not guilty on the case of insanity. And she was only in a mental institution for a couple of weeks. And then after a few weeks, like maybe 3 weeks, something like that, they said that she was cured and that she was no longer a danger, and they let her out. She got to go out and live her life. But you had Andrea Yates, who did something similar to what Lindsay Clancy did. And she had 2 trials. The first trial, they threw it out. And the reason why is because one of the expert witnesses had lied about something. And so they had to give her a retrial. And then when they gave her a retrial, this psychiatrist convinced the jury that she was insane. And they said that she had schizophrenia. And so he convinced the jury that she was insane. So she got off on insanity. And she's now in a mental hospital. And every year it comes up for parole, and she waives her parole. She says that she wants to stay in the mental hospital because that's where she needs to be, is in that mental hospital. So if Lindsay Clancy is just faking it, saying she's insane, then she might not necessarily be insane. She might just have a personality disorder, which is what profiler Pat Brown believes. And then she might have to be in a mental hospital for a few years. And then after a few years, they'll say she's no longer a danger to the public, and they'll let her out. And that's why Lindsay Clancy is going for the insanity plea, because she's hoping that in a few years they'll let her out, But this is my take on it. If Lindsay Clancy did it once, she'll do it again. That's number one. You do it once, you'll do it again. And number two, it doesn't matter whether she's insane, demonically possessed, or faking it. She's still a danger. And I saw this one YouTube video with this one expert who was a lecturer in a college or a university, and she's saying Lindsay Clancy is not safe. She should never be let out of a secure institution. And so that's what I think. I think if Lindsay Clancy did it once, she'll do it again. And regardless of whether she is insane, demonically possessed, or faking it, she should never be allowed out of any secure institution. Now, if she's insane, she needs psychiatric help. She needs to be treated for her mental illness. If she is demonically possessed, she needs spiritual help to be treated for her demonic possession. And if she's faking it, which would mean that she's got a personality disorder, she needs to be in prison. So it doesn't matter what the truth of the matter is, she's not safe. She did it once, she'll do it again. She should never be allowed out of any secure institution ever. So that's the conclusion of my video. That's what I thought about this case, and I thought I would make a video on it. So thank you for listening to my insights. I mean, I do know something about the religious aspect of it because I was brought up in a religious family, and my family believed that, members of my family believe that it's demonic possession. Even though they're highly educated, that's what they believe. I know a little bit about mental health because I was harassed out of my job, harassed at home, and sectioned twice So I know quite a few people in the mental health community, and so I've got my personal lived experience and the secondhand watching other people in the mental health community. And I also know people who have personality disorders. So thank you again for watching my video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. And I have lots of things that I want to talk about. So thank you so much again for watching me and taking an interest in my pathetic life.